of the Auburn family spectrum. We're always heavy on the sports here on this channel, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you are watching live or I'm sure many of you, because this is a late one, watching on the replay. We appreciate you spending a few minutes of your time with us just to hang out, talk about what you love about Auburn athletics, but all things Auburn. So that's what we're here to talk about today on this live stream. A little bit of an impromptu one. We're in the car again because we're on the road here. It is game day weekend for Ole Miss. Wanted to pop in here and talk just a little bit about Auburn orange and blue scrimmage for basketball that I attended tonight and the things surrounding that, because it seems like there's a little bit of interest out there that people want to hear some initial thoughts about it and some things that we took away. We can definitely do that. So I appreciate those of you that already showed interest in wanting to do this live stream this late at night. I know the Braves game is going on as well too, so hopefully the Bravos pull it out for everybody. But we're going to try to talk about some basketball for just a few minutes here before they kick me out of an undisclosed location in Auburn parking somewhere. But if you're watching, do me a couple of favors. Make sure you smash that like button if you enjoy this type of content. Share it out on social media. Tell some Auburn fans to come join in on the fun and have a say here. You can post comments and questions. I won't be able to actually show your comments because of the format I do this one in from the phone, but I'll try to address them as they come up. So this was the orange versus blue scrimmage. I can't recall in the past if they've done something like this before. I think Auburn has tried what would be considered a midnight madness, which is typically where you get college basketball teams, their kickoff event in their arena at midnight, and several teams have done that over the years. I don't even know if anybody even does that anymore. Auburn did their own thing, tip-off at Toomer's, which in my view is a pretty good success, the two times they've been able to pull it off. But this last one, because of some weather conditions, they weren't able to actually have the dunk contest. And I think Coach Pearl, being the marketer he is, felt the need, because that was such a letdown, because that's what the night was leading up to, and there was no dunk contest for safety reasons, that he wanted to give that to the fans, an opportunity to see that. Although, and we'll get to this in a second, there wasn't much dunking going on. However, there was is plenty to see, and I really, really like this. So maybe towards the end here, I offer up an idea of what maybe they could do in the future. But I know that's probably not right now. You're more curious about what actually happened, what we saw, what we took away from the scrimmage. And we can talk about that first of all. See, Thomas is here. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. And Thomas has followed the lead that everybody usually does. Make sure you post where you're watching from, city, state, international. Even if you're on the replay, want to know who's here. And say hello with the War Eagle. Let's see. How are we looking? Possible madness team? I will tell you this, Thomas, and I try to be very, very careful with prognosticating too flamboyantly, if that makes sense. I try in my middle age years to be less of getting on the hype train and things and try to really look at things rationally. I found myself tonight sitting in this arena feeling very good about where this basketball team is right now in terms of the talent level up and down the roster. I'm talking into walk-on territory as well, which we'll touch on that in just a minute. I keep alluding to. I'll be honest with you. I personally tonight made more about the dunk contest walking into this thing than I did the scrimmage. But I took more away from the scrimmage than I did from the dunk contest. So let's address that first. The dunk contest was like two participants. It was Chandler Leopold, I believe, or was it Laura Behrman? One of the second teamers was competing. I think it was Chandler Leopold, however you say his name, versus Devin Cambridge. And there were some pretty interesting ducks they were trying. So that was cool. It was great. You know, they missed a few of them and things like that. But it was just the two of them. And I thought at first maybe they were going to have like a two verse, you know, one, have these two face each other, then the next two, and then those winners are going to go off. And I thought that would have been perfect. But it was just them two. So it was kind of a little lacking, so to speak. But it still was entertaining, even though it was short. And then they moved into the scrimmage. The scrimmage, in my view, was the huge value out of this, because I think a lot of people were questioning whether it was going to be a mix of ones and twos together, or if it was going to be ones versus twos. And I can tell you it was ones versus twos, clearly. And it was amazing to me sitting in the stands, like even people sitting next to me didn't even know that. I was like, you didn't know that was the you see Jabari, Walker Kessler, all of them together? That shows you that's the ones all together. Some interesting little matchups and things like that. Unbeaten Lake. I have Jabari and Kessler on the court together is unfair. Yes, having those two on the court together. I posted this in social media tonight out on Twitter. It is a thing of beauty, and you wouldn't think so because this is a traditional center with a power forward type of guy, and Jabari Smith and Kessler being a traditional center, and you wouldn't think that connection would be working as well as it did, but it really did. Like it was crazy that those two, when they finally got going together, this is one of the things that's got me so excited about this team was seeing them. Now, they did get off to a very slow start. Let me be clear about that. Coach Pearl was not happy with his big men to start off the game. In fact, I think it was like 2 series back and forth, maybe like a minute into the game. Akingbola, I should go over who was with where and all that kind of stuff. Akingbola was with the blue team, which was the twos to start off with because they have to give them somebody. He yanked him from over there and brought him over and put him in almost immediately. And I don't know which player he was upset with, but that says something about a lot of different things here. Being Late says we're going undefeated this year. Oh, don't do that to me because tonight I might believe you. But I'm trying not to get to that way. Casey asks, I wasn't there. Who started? Who won? What was the score? The score I cannot remember exactly. The orange team won, which was the ones. The twos was the blue team. And if I remember correctly, they had, at the end, they really pulled ahead. It was probably like 11-point, 12-point margin, something like that. They really turned it on at the end. You could see it finally kind of caught up with the blue team. Now, let me just talk about the blue team for a second. I don't know if it's just because we haven't had that much exposure to the walk-ons and to the backups and to the second stringers and stuff like that before. But my gosh, if the quality of this team is indicative of the heart, the drive, and the talent on that team, that's a good sign for this year. And honestly, when I walk away from this, that's really what's got me excited, is to see the type of competition that they're having in practice. These are not your regular walk-ons and stuff like that, in my opinion. I would have been what it was a regular walk-on when I played my 1 year, where I literally got out there and, probably was scared stiff. But these guys were competitive, weren't backing down from the ones, and were leading for a large part of the first 10 minutes. Eventually, the talent, kind of caught up with them, which is good to see, really. So basically, the blue team, being the twos, was everybody you think it was. A lot of the people's got the names you don't know, but, Laura Behrman, Chan Leopard, what's his name? Gosh, I'm blanking on his name. He just won a scholarship. Miles, was it Miles? No. Anyway, a lot of those players. And then my new favorite player, talk about him in a second, Michael Whitmore. I feel really good about our point guard situation, y'all. Michael Whitmore sounds weird, but he has won my heart. Like, I try to latch on to one player every year. For the longest time, it was Horace Spencer. Forget who it was for me last year. Probably Cardwell, but Michael Whitmore is going to be my guy this year. And I know he's a walk-on. He's going to be playing big time. The dude has no fear, and he is out to prove something that he deserves to have a scholarship. And I would not be shocked to see this guy not win a scholarship this year. Coach Pearl tries to do that. If the room is available each year, the guy can ball, and he's fearless. And I love that about him. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. Forgot his name, but we had a transfer coming from Arkansas, and then he backed out and went to Arkansas State. If we had him, we really would go undefeated. Not necessarily. That was Desi Steele. He didn't back out. It was some academic stuff, is my understanding. Wasn't going to transfer. It really was kind of like a unfortunate situation because I think both sides wanted him here, and we were even asking the question: is the backcourt too full now with Desi Steele? He was going to provide what I thought was missing from this team, if there is something missing, is some leadership, as some experienced leadership, especially in SEC play, being from Arkansas. And he was very good for Arkansas. So that is disappointing, but he is not, in my mind, the thing that makes or breaks this team. What I saw tonight, in my view, is what's going to make this team. And a lot of it has to do with not even the biggest players out there. Thomas says, we have been spoiled with recruits, but Coach Pearl's an absolute gem of a coach. Very happy to have him. And I agree with that. And what I love is watching Coach Pearl in his element, not even outside of the game. In practice here, which is great to see him getting after the big guys. He understands the talent level that Walker Kessler and Jabari have and is going to demand nothing but the best. Or else he's going to put, Stretch in there. Not knocking Stretch or Cardwell at all. But he wasn't going to let them settle for anything less than their best, which is great to see. Preston Cook, thank you. The walk-on who is now in scholarship, 6'4" senior. And so I know I'm jumping around a lot, but all this is starting to come back to me a little bit. The interesting thing was after the scrimmage, they did some situational things, which means they basically put a certain amount of time on the clock and said, this team is down by this much with this much left. Seeing how they respond, how would they try to come back. And it was all the best. But you had players like Preston Cook out there. You had players like Lohr Behrman out there. You had players that see less time, obviously, like Cardwell, Stretch, Chris Moore. And Chris Moore, obviously, plays a lot of time, but he's not a starter. But you saw them mixed and matched together, and I liked what I saw. The 10 that were out there, and again, I'm trying not to sound like I'm knocking Lohr Behrman and Preston Cook and all them. I'm saying this because they looked like they were very capable out there, in my view. Now, when you get into actual competition, that's going to be a different story. But guys, this team's deep, a lot of deeper than I gave them credit for, and I'm maybe getting in dangerous territory and just talking about the hype that I'm seeing right now. But yeah. That's kind of why I'm feeling right now. All right, keep posting your questions. If you've got something specific you want me to answer or address about the basketball thing tonight, we can certainly do that. Casey says Arkansas State will make the NCAA tournament with Desi Steele on that team. Would love to see Arkansas State in the NCAA tournament. I wouldn't, because I don't want to see Desi Steele. Desi Steele gave us fits against Arkansas last year. So, yeah, I would not step out as you are the master of hyperbole, Casey. So I would not step out so far as to say that right out, but sorry, I'm actually just making sure the AU parking people aren't going to make me leave just yet. It's not them, though. I wouldn't step out and say that he is going to be the thing that takes them there. They probably have a good program, though. He wouldn't go to them if they didn't, or he thinks he can make a difference. And Unbeaten Lake, we got a lot of people pumping the stuff tonight. I love it, but you're getting me into dangerous territory, having me believe all this stuff. Almost all our starters, Unbeaten Late says, will probably be in the NBA next year. I would say Jabari is probably a surefire. It's about as close as you can get to a sure thing, 99.9. I would say Wendell Green probably not, unless he has a Jared Harper type here, which he could be capable of. Depends on Alan Flanagan, how he comes back from his injury. He's still obviously going to be down for a little while. And Walker Kessler, I think I like his potential. And I don't mean that as a slight. I hope it doesn't sound like that. I really liked what I saw of him, how he moves up and down the court, especially as a big man. I think for the type of guy, the type of player he wants to be, he's still going to need to fill out a little bit more. But he's a really good rebounder, really good rapport with his teammates, especially Jabari. Thomas says, fair question. How tinted were the orange and blue glasses? I know you're as fair as they can be. I again, I try to be as objective as an Auburn fan, and because I'm not a traditional media member, I'm not trying to be impartial here, but I'm also trying to have some objectivity here. And I honestly, guys, because of the level of play I saw from the backups and the level of play in certain scenarios with some of the big names that we have, I'm very, very excited. I'm not calling Final Four team. From what I saw tonight, I feel good enough that this team can make the tournament. I can solidly say that tonight. And I know that most people assume that, right? But I like to wait a little bit and see what I see. And of course, let's wait and see how non-conference goes. Let's wait and see how, when Alan Flanagan gets back, how that affects everything. It's a lot of good things. And I need to talk more about Michael Whitmore because he was great. Who started for each team tonight? So for the starters for the Orange, which was the ones in the scrimmage, would have been Kessler, Jabari. Was Jalen Williams out there too? I don't think so. Thought he was. Wendell Green, and maybe it was Zep Jasper. Or no, Katie Johnson. That's probably who it was. So that was really, really good squad there. But a lot of guys saw a lot of time. Let's see. Be out for the season. Unbeaten Lake says Desi unfortunately got injured in a scrimmage. I heard it was a bad. Oh, so you're talking about at Arkansas State. Well, that's very unfortunate to hear because he's a great talent, if that's true. Russell, good to see you, my man. Thanks for being here, and thanks for reminding everybody to smash that thumbs up if you like this content. I think it's, I also agree, Thomas. It's very fair based off the hype, the speculation, but now seeing some of this stuff in practice, I really, really like it. Keep asking your questions. I can keep addressing. I want to talk about something, though, that I think is a fair thing to bring up, because this kind of was done in addition to tip-off at Toomer's, and I don't want to lose tip-off at Toomer's because I think it's really cool, but I think what needs to happen, if we can pull it off in a third time next year, is it needs to be understood for what it is. It's basically just a hype session. And if you can't do the dunk contest there, it really isn't going to be as worth it to people to keep coming to it. It's great that you do Tiger Talk before it. It's great that you do we certainly want to have the women's team there to introduce them. But I think you need to do some of the things like they did in the first one, like mix the guys and the girls together and do like a 3-on-3 thing real quick. Or the 3-point contest needs to stay. I would say you need to do a 2-point contest. And personally, I think you should have some fun like they did and just play horse or something like that. And then do exactly what you did here tonight. 2 weeks before the season, or close to it as you can get with a home football game, schedule a open practice scrimmage, just like football did. Now, these things were done out of necessity because of COVID and all that kind of stuff. We're talking about the football thing. But do that. Schedule this thing right after a volleyball match. Bruce is a great marketer. This needs to be an annual thing. Tip-off at Toomer is like a month before. Make it more of a fun event, not necessarily focusing on, this type of stuff that we saw tonight. And then do this a couple weeks. It gives 2 options for people to come see the team before, and I love it. And football should be doing something similar, which they might. Let's see here. Casey says, Stretch, Devin, Jalen, naming all teams, all come back next year, but that's all. Wendell could play his way into, but I don't see everybody leaving. I want to see what Walker Kessler does, but I don't think we're going to lose as many people as you think we're going to lose. If we do, it's a good season, though. Cam, I did see that. I'll address that real quick. TD Moultrie has been reinstated, which is great news. There was a lot of speculation if that was going to happen, when that was going to happen. My sources were still telling me the surest thing was coming back to travel for Texas A&M, but he's made it back. So this weekend, albeit the weather being a little bit gross, I think the rain moves out. You couldn't ask for a better Auburn weekend. There was tons of stuff to do. It is going to be great. It is absolutely going to be great. Unbeaten like anyone here if Zion Cruz is committing anytime soon. He was supposed to commit over a month ago, but something happened and he hasn't announced his commitment date. Now, let me address that, because if I've got the recruit right, what I was being told is that there's more of an issue between, and again, I'm trying to make sure I have the name correct. I think this is the recruit. There wasn't necessarily a surety from the staff that they wanted Zion Cruz. And I know that sounds crazy because all we do is look at stars, guys. But 5 stars does not make a great player. What you do with those stars, however many you get, is what makes you a great player. So I think there was some of that. I think Zion wanted to be here more than the staff was ready for him to be here. So we'll see. Did things get figured out? Maybe. So yeah, we'll find out more about that. So big takeaways from tonight from Orange Blue game. First of all, overall thing, do this again. Do the dunk contest here, have the scrimmage, the situational things, do it on a big football weekend. A+ in my book. And if you want people to stick around to the end, there was a modest crowd and most people left after the scrimmage, not for the situational stuff. Have an autograph signing if you can. Also, do tip off at Toomers again. But just figure out how to make it the most fun and stick with that. Don't make it so serious. And not that they really did, but that's that. I feel much better about our point guard situation. We were not as deep as I thought until I saw Michael Whitmore. Michael Whitmore is probably going to be my new favorite. And he may not play a lot, but just the fact that I know that Wendell's our guy, Zepp's the next guy, Katie's got a little bit of point guard experience, and then we've got Michael Whitmore, who can and probably will see some time in certain situations, hopefully no injuries. That makes me feel good. I love the connection between Jabari and Kessler. Free throws seemed a bit better this year, which was lacking last year. And love the way that Coach Pearl coaches his team up. And I think this is going to be a very, very, very strong team. The hype may be real. Casey thinks that he's going somewhere else, talking about Zion. He might. Unfortunately, that's not something that we really need to focus on right now. Well, if he wants to be here and the team, Coach Pearl wants him here, it'll happen. Russell, biggest AU team you've seen? It's an interesting question. Probably from Bruce Pearl's time here, I just don't have the recollection of the teams from much further back to know if it was the biggest team. Height-wise, no, probably. But just in terms of overall being a big type of player, length and, wingspan and things like that. Jabari makes up a lot of that. Walker does too. But then you got Stretch. You probably have a case to make there. That's a great question to ask, and I don't have a solid answer for that, but it's up there. It's definitely up there. All right. Get your last-minute comments and questions in real quick before we head out here. Just want to remind you, stay tuned here on the channel tomorrow. We're going to try our best, Wi-Fi or signal permitting, to do Tiger Walk, to do Four Corners Pep Rally after that. Who knows what else? And maybe if I get on a while here again, we might even do a very late night reaction show for Ole Miss. Don't count on it, but that is a possibility. So I'm, again, making sure that the AU parking people. Check out all the link in the description if you can for ways to help support us. You can become a channel member here by hitting the join button. You can do that on a desktop, the most easiest way, or becoming a Booster Club member. By the way, Booster Club members are getting a lot of good stuff that not everybody else is getting to see. I'm just sharing exclusive things with them. It's $1 is all it takes to get to it. And there you can help. That does help support us here as well. So there's all that stuff for you guys to check out. Stay tuned this weekend on social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff, all kinds of good stuff from this weekend. Casey says, I won't be surprised if we score 100 points on a lot of teams this season. You'll probably see that a lot, especially in non-conference and some of the lower tier teams. It'll happen probably in a situation, and when we get in a conference play, if there's a team that doesn't play good defense, probably. Thomas, thank you, sir. E2C for life. Appreciate that. Auburn will make a Final Four. Chris Law stepping out and saying, maybe. Just maybe. Casey, score prediction for tomorrow and for the men's basketball game next week versus Southern. Well, I would predict easily a win. I would predict that you're probably going to have your head turned by how good our point guards are probably going to be. That's what I would say about that. Clint's here, everybody. Everybody wave hi to Clint. We're about to say bye, Clint, but yeah. But yeah, so better defense this year, Russell says. Yeah, I think this is going to be a great team. I'm very excited after what I saw, and I'm excited for the rest of this weekend. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this impromptu live stream. Share it out, please. Smash that like button. Until I talk